So I want you to watch this video and pay attention to the question being asked and the answer, and what Peter Thiel is doing here with Palantir. It is public knowledge that Palantir is involved with the Trump administration right now in using AI and AI systems to funnel a bunch of federal data, governmental data, through their Palantir systems in order to do things like budget cuts and whatnot. And obviously a lot of people have fears about the use of this data, like the mass use of this data. Palantir has been involved in this kind of stuff, both on the right wing and left wing, for a long time. It's essentially like these companies ultimately just go for money, and whichever side of the spectrum makes them the most money is essentially what they go after. Right? We're going to cover that a little bit later as well, where I go over DEI initiatives in some of the biggest companies in the world to prove exactly this point. They don't actually care about DEI. The proof is that they care about money. And if DEI helps them to make more money, that's what they're going to do. In any case, so I just want you to, again, pretend that you are an evil entity looking to abuse these systems. All right, let's get into it. By the way, I'm sorry. I'm really butchering the premise of the entire thing I'm saying. I really apologize. I'm really not being as clear as I think I could be with these ideas. I'm working on it live with you guys. I genuinely apologize. Sometimes I'm really I talk a lot and I say nothing. All right, let's go.
This is my very specific question for you, right? Is that you're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.
I mean, to be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe, but is this so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism? This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety, and we've submitted.
Notice, 1, he is stunned, or he looks stunned by the premise of the question, that maybe he himself is participating in exactly the kind of thing that he himself apparently seems to be, let's say, opposed to. He seems to have kind of like a religious background, and he does not like the idea of the Antichrist. So he might be someone who believes more in the material form of the Antichrist, something a bit more of like Satan as is biblically written, like an actual entity, an actual angel caring about his evil will upon mankind. Now imagine for a moment that he doesn't realize that he's participating in exactly that kind of thing. Were you an evil entity, the smartest thing you could do is get as many people as you can on every side of a religious, political, or otherwise ideological belief to actually end up being on your side in the end. Now, what he describes here, and let's pull this up, because I've read the Bible, I think 6, maybe 7 times all the way through, so I recognize the scripture right away. It's from 1 Thessalonians 5:3. This is something that Jehovah's Witnesses use a lot to point to many, many times as like, well, this is an the sign that Armageddon is coming. Armageddon being when God removes all wickedness on the earth, aka a bunch of people are 404'd, and then Jehovah's Witnesses are the only ones left standing, and they have to clean up over the 404'd bodies and bring about a peaceful utopia. 1 Thessalonians 5:3 here, let me zoom in. While people are saying peace and safety, or in some translations, everything is peaceful and secure, or in other translations, there's peace and security, or peace and security, then sudden destruction will come upon them, as labor pains come upon a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. So what Peter here is saying is that, hey, I know that I'm not participating in an antichrist movement, because I am going against what has historically been. And historically, for the last 50 years, we have been proclaiming peace and security. Is this not the very definition of what the Antichrist is? That's one of the signs of the Antichrist being present. And so from his perspective, he's going, well, my promotion and use of AI and proliferation, financial proliferation of AI, because it goes against the biblical narrative that I espouse, therefore must be anti. Now, what if I was to tell Peter that both things can be true at the same time? And that is why I asked the question that I did at the outset of this stream. Imagine that God is a real entity, and imagine that Satan is a real entity. Put aside your religious or atheistic beliefs. It doesn't matter. Magic button, you just suddenly believe in these real entities. Who do you think would love AI proliferation more? God or Satan? It doesn't actually matter if Satan exists. What matters is that people believe Satan exists, and they try to enact Satan's will upon the world. That's what really matters.